very good afternoon to you, Zimbabwe. I am Rumbizai Chakanza. We are live at the Senate chamber. And of course, today, the senators will be posing questions to government officials, and that includes honorable ministers, to know what's happening as far as issues to do with the nation is concerned. Of course, we will be bringing you the live coverage of the Senate question and answer session. Today, we are also live on Facebook. That is ZBC News Online. Now, let's take you straight to the proceedings.
Is this what you are saying?
Said, Madam President, Honorable Mona here has been acting a leader of government questions related to ministers who will not be in this house. So I think maybe we can go ahead, and if ministers do not come in, other ministers, maybe from there we can adjourn that question time, Madam President.
I don't think we are the ones to appoint a minister to become leader of the house. We go along with the real laws of the house. The minister who is here is not leader of the house. He will stand for his own ministry. Yes, because there is no leader of the house. I think I go along with what it has been moved that we adjourn the issue of having questions without notice to this house because we don't have ministers in the house. Is there any debate on that one? No debate. So everyone agrees we adjourn questions without notice. Honorable Minister, I'm sorry. Honorable, stand up, Honorable Member. Yes.
Thank you, Madam President. We also agree that we leave this question time, but at the same time, Madam President, we also need to commend Minister Mona for coming, because we see that he is always here all the time, and you answering questions, and he was even prepared now to answer all questions pertaining to cabinet issues. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay, I hear you, Honorable Senator Mavenyengwa, and also support you that the Minister of Transport is always in the house when he is around. But maybe to also support that next time to the appointing authority, if they can put him on the leader of the house position so that we also benefit as a house. Thank you, Honorable Minister Mona. But today we cannot have you because you can see what is being said by the house. I thank you. The clerk will read the first order of the day.
Urgent debate on motion on the importance of higher and tertiary education institutions in national development, innovation, and international cooperation.
When this debate was adjourned on 23rd July 2025, the question before the House was a motion by Honorable Senator Zwidzai as set forth on page 676 of today's order paper. Is there any further debate? Any further debate? Honorable Matibiri.
Yes, Madam President.
Yes.
And thank you. Very much, Madam President, for giving me this opportunity to debate on an important motion that was brought to this House by Honorable Senator Zwidzai. Allow me, Madam President, to take through the House and refresh its memories in terms of the content and what this motion sought to achieve. The motion, which was brought by Senator Zwidzai, acknowledged the strategic role played by higher and tertiary education, especially for a country like Zimbabwe, which is seeking to achieve a higher middle-income economy by 2030. The motion further acknowledges the academic, human, and capital scientific potential of our graduates generated from the University of Zimbabwe and indeed other institutions of higher learning. Further, the motion noted the commitment of the government of Zimbabwe first to Education 5.0 and now heritage-based education, which seeks to deliver on the broader national vision encapsulated under Vision 2030. Lastly, the motion noted with concern that the country's graduates are facing increasingly limited global recognition due to a number of factors, and challenges the Ministry of Higher and Tertiary Education, Innovation, Science and Technology Development to internationalize products from our institutions of higher learning so that we are globally competitive. Madam President, it is common cause that Zimbabwe has scored highly in terms of the development of literacy and numeracy skills. We rank very high in terms of reading and writing skills. There is no argument about that. It is also common cause, Madam President, that Zimbabwe's graduates are doing very well regionally, internationally, and globally. We take pride in that, Madam President. But when you engage in a debate that seeks to explore how we can improve our academic excellence, of necessity, Madam President, this debate must generate more light than heat. We are not pointing fingers at anyone. We are not also being nostalgic about pre-independence education in Zimbabwe. We are not comparing anything. All we are doing is to add our voice to the need to improve, because we are aware, Madam President, that education is a driver of national transformation. Our learning institutions are the seedbed where this desire of us to become an upper middle income economy by 2030 takes root. Therefore, anything that speaks to the need to improve our learning outcomes must not degenerate into blame games. The central issue in the motion is the realization that our academic excellence, real or perceived, is not translating into accelerated national development and national transformation. This point is made cognizant of the initiatives that the government has made in establishing learning hubs at institutions of learning, in adopting Education 5.0, which seeks to link our education with our heritage. That is very, very important, Madam President. But we need to see, and as quickly as possible, as we inch towards 2030, our education beginning to feed into our national transformation vision. That is very, very imperative, Madam President. We cannot boast of an educated labor force without something tangible that is visible. In short, education must contribute to the elimination of poverty, to the elimination of drug abuse, to the elimination of all the social ills that afflict the nation. It is our education system that must address that. So I relate when the motion says, let us link our academic institutions to international standards, to global standards, because we are doing this further to the realization that interdependence is a higher value than independence. We must interdepend. As we export graduates outside the country, there must equally be something at home that we must see that is tangible. So I relate to the motion, Madam President, that we need to improve on the quality of the graduates that are emerging from our institutions of higher learning. I so submit, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Senator Matibiri. Is there any further debate? Pane vamwere vanoda kutaura. Honorable Shizai, can you move the adjournment of the debate?
Madam President, I move that debate be now adjourned.
Who seconds?
I second, Madam President.
Thank you. It has been moved that the debate do now adjourn. Is there any debate? I put the question that the debate do now adjourn. Those who are of that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it, the question is accordingly affirmed and the debate is adjourned. To what day, Honorable Senator Shizai?
To Tuesday next week, Madam President.
The debate is adjourned to Tuesday next week. The clerk will read the third order, second order of the day.
Urgent debate on motion on the need to preserve our indigenous knowledge systems.
When this debate was adjourned on the 23rd July 2025, the question before the House was a motion by Honorable Senator D.M. Ngwe as set forth on page 676 of today's order paper. Is there any further debate? Any further debate? No further debate. Honorable Senator D.M. Ngube.
Madam President, I move that the debate do now adjourn.
Who seconds?
I second, Madam President.
It has been moved that the debate do now adjourn. Those who are of that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is accordingly affirmed, and the debate is adjourned. To what day, Honorable Ngube?
Next Tuesday, Madam President.
The debate is adjourned to next Tuesday. The clerk will read the third order of the day.
Urgent debate on motion on the report of the Joint Portfolio Committee on Primary and Secondary Education and the Thematic Committee on Gender and Development on the state of universal access to primary and secondary education in Zimbabwe.
When this debate was adjourned on 23rd July 2025, the question before the House was a motion by Honorable Senator Ndebele that this House considers and adopts the report of the Joint Portfolio Committee on Primary and Secondary Education and the Thematic Committee on Gender and Development on the state of universal access to primary and secondary education in Zimbabwe, SC2 2025. Is there any further debate? Is there any further debate, honorable senators? Honorable Senator Ndebele.
She is not around, Madam President.
Honorable Chief Whip.
I'm acting on behalf of her. She is not around as well. Okay. Thank you, Madam President. I move that the debate do now adjourn.
Who seconds?
I second, Madam President.
Thank you. It has been moved that the debate do now adjourn. Is there any debate? I put the question that the debate do now adjourn. Those who are of that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is accordingly affirmed, and the debate is adjourned. To what day, Honorable?
To Tuesday next week, Madam President.
You are Honorable Senator. The clerk will read the fourth order of the day.
Urgent debate on motion on the report of the 69th session of the Convention on the Status of Women, CSW 69.
When this debate was adjourned on 15th July 2025, the question before the House was a motion by Honorable Senator Mbokwa that the House takes note of the report on the 69th session of the Convention on the Status of Women, CSW 69, on the review and appraisal of the implementation of the 1995 Beijing Declaration and Platform for Action and the outcomes of the 23rd special session of the General Assembly held from 10th to 21st March 2025 at the United Nations headquarters, New York, United States of America. Is there any further debate? What is this now? Does this mean everyone debated on this motion? Oh. I can't see Honorable Senator Mbowa. Honorable Chief Whip.
Madam President, I move that the debate now adjourn.
Who seconds?
I second, Madam President.
Thank you. I move that it has been moved that the debate will now adjourn. Is there any debate? I put the question that the debate will now adjourn. Those who are of that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is accordingly affirmed, and the debate is adjourned. To what day, Honorable Ngoi?
To next Tuesday, Madam President.
The debate is adjourned to next Tuesday. The clerk will read the fifth order of the day.
Urgent debate on motion on the culture that promotes the preservation of traditional practices.
When this debate was adjourned on 15th July 2025, The question before the House was a motion by Honorable Senator Chief Nechombo, as set forth on pages 677 of today's order paper. Is there any further debate?
Is there any further debate? That's Honorable Senator Unganai.
Thank you, Mr. President. Noda kukutendai nekundipa nguva yekutaura pamusoro pekuchengetedza tsika dzedu nemagariro edu. Chekutanga ndinoda kutenda Chief Nechombo vakauya nemotion inotaura maringe nemagariro. Mukuru wechigaro vakauya nemotion vakataura nenyaya yekurasika kwetsika dzedu. Ine imwe nzira tichiteera tsika dzekumadokero dzadai kutibvisa pachivanhu. Takuteera mamwe magariro atanga tisingazive mukukura kwedu. Mr. President, ichokwadi kuti tsika dzedu dzakagara dzichiitwa nevakuru vedu sandidzo dzatakuteerawo isu vakateera mumashure nekuda kwekuteera dzimwe tsika dzevamwewo vauyi vasiri vemunyika yeZimbabwe. Mr. President, tichikura isu taiziva kuti kana tichitangira ipapo kuti tana tisangana nevakuru, kumuziva kana kusaziva mukuru waikomekedzwa kuti utsauke nzira ukwazise mukuru iyeye zvine tsika dzedu nemagariro edu. Asi nhasi uno, Mr. President, hazvisisiko zvinhu zvandiri kuedza kutsanangura izvi, kuti hakuchina rukudzo mukati matiri, hakuchisina rudo mukati menyika yedu, nekuda kwetsika dzevamwe dzatakatambira nemoyo wese. Mr. President, chii chanyanyokonzera kuti tirasike mukati metsika dzedu? Dai takwanisa kuziva mavambo emagariro evakuru vedu vakare nemagariro avaiita, taive nemhinduro yakanaka, nekuti pari zvino tese hatichaziva kuti pakakanganiswa ndepapi. Nyaya yekuchengetedza tsika, Mr. President, inobva kwatinobva. Zvikuru inobva kutanga nekunoremekedza vabati venzvimbo nevachengeti vemutemo yepasichigare anova madzishe. Mr. President, madzishe edu ndiwo anochengeta tsika dzedu, ndiwo anochengeta hunhu nemagariro edu. Tikagona kunochengetedza madzishe edu nekuvakudza nekuvapa zvinzvimbo zvavo, zvinhu zvedu zvinotifambira zvakanaka. Hatirambe chinamato, Mr. President. Chinamato chakagara chiriko, asi rudzi nerudzi, Mr. President, rune munamatiro waro. Chero dai tichinamata Mwari mumwe chete, asi rudzi nerudzi rune manamatiro aro. Isu mukukura kwedu tinoziva kuti Mr. President, kana ndichibuda mumba ndinoenda kurukuva kuno suma kune midzimu yangu kuti ndakumbobudawo mukanya bvudzi jena, ndakumboenda kumushando. Tinenge tichizviitirei? Tinozviitira kuti tichengetwe, kuchengetedzwa nevakakuzvara, nevakaita kuti uone pasi. Mr. President, imwe nguva tinogona tisingazive kuti tese takagara takadai muno nemunhu ane chibereko chiri kufamba panze, ane simba raMwari raakasiyirwa paari. Saka munhu iyeye mwana waMwari. Zvichirevei, Mr. President? Zvinoreva kuti handigoni kuziva Mwari kana ndisati ndaziva akandibereka. Itsika dzechinyakare. Chero Bhaibheri rinotaura sematauriro andaita kuti haungaoni ushe hwekudenga kana usati waziva kana kuremekedza akakubereka. Kudza baba vako namai vako kuti mazuva ako agowedzerwa panyika. Mr. President, ichokwadi tiri kurasika nekuti kana ndisati ndaziva pane dzinza rangu handingakwanisi kunoita tsika uye dzandinofanira kufamba nadzo. Mr. President, ndinoda kungotaura zvishoma ndichiti dai tadzokera kuchinyakare, tateedza matsimba evakaenda kare, chero imo muno matigere. Mr. President, chandinoziva ndechekuti kana tichinamata murudzi rwekwedu tinopira kuvadzimu kuti sei ndafananidza nemuno, nekuti ndimo munofanira kutanga kutaurwa nyaya dzekuteedza tsika dzedu dzechinyakare. Mr. President, imo muno matigere, iyo tsvimbo iyo yamunoona iyo yamunoisa yedu, iyo tsvimbo iyo ndeyemaBritish iyo. Iyo tsvimbo iyo haisi yamunhu mutapa, haisi yamuZilikasi. Iyo tsvimbo iyi ndipo panobva kusateedza tsika dzedu. Dai takanga takagona takabata tsika dzedu chaidzo, Mr. President, paine tsvimbo ina dzainokumbirwa mvura kumabwadziva nevakuru vedu, ndidzo dzingadai dzichititungamirira nyika yedu ichiinda mberi. Hatigoni kuinda mberi, Mr. President, tiine tsvimbo iyi. Tsvimbo iyo, Mr. President, ngaitsiviwe netsvimbo ina dzemativi mana eZimbabwe dzainokumbirirwa mvura inaye pasi panyoro tive nerugare asi chimboi ine handigoni kutaura zvakanyanya nezvayo asi changa chiri chikumbiro chekuti zvatataura Mr. President kuti ngatidzokerei kuchinyakare kana nemanamatiro anofanira kuchinjwa. Manamatiro edu maitanga mauyapo patsvimbo dzenyina moombera motaura kuZimbabwe modzokera zvenyu munogara munocheya chigaro. Kana tisati tagona kudaro Mr. President pachingoitai henyu asi chimboi ini nemoyo wangu ndairamba chainondiratidza haina tsika dzeZimbabwe. Isu taiziva kuti maisvika ipapo munotaura kuvakuru kuti chitisvitsirai kuna Musikarara. Ndo munamatiro wedu, ndo tsika dzedu, ndo mugariro wedu. Ndinoda kutendai Mr. President nenguva pfupi ndinganyanye kutaura zvakanyanya umwe musi zvandingazotaura hamungazvinzwisisa. Asi munoona matambudziko atiri kuita munyika yeZimbabwe Mr. President. Matambudziko atiri kuita munyika yeZimbabwe anosanganisira njodzi dziri mukati memigwagwa, kuparara kweropa revana veZimbabwe kunokonzerwa nekusabata dzenyu migwagwa yenyu Mr. President yemunyika yeZimbabwe ngaiwanikwe zuva pagore ramunodedza mhondo nemasvikiro munotaura pamusoro.
Point of order, Mr. President.
What's your point of order?
My point of order, Mr. President, is that you don't want a situation where the honorable member is demeaning Parliament, the institution of Parliament. In any case, what about the clothes he's wearing? Yeah. I think you should try to keep to the motion as raised by the chief.
Honorable Ngube, he is expressing his views. Carry on. Carry on.
Mr. President, hatirambi chakanaka. Chakanaka tinoshida. Hatina kuti, Mr. President, ngatidzokerei kunopfeka nembe. Nekuti nguva iri kufamba. Asi kusapfeka nembe hakurei kuti tichirasa chivanhu chedu. Ngatirambe tiri patsika dzedu. Ndanga ndichida kutaura nenyaya yenjodzi dziri kuitika mukati menyika yeZimbabwe. Dzinotora ropa rakawanda. Tinoda kuti madzishe aya nemhondoro nemasvikiro eZimbabwe vamboungana panotangira Zimbabwe. Pamunoti panotangira Zimbabwe, panotangira migwagwa muno muHarare. Vambonokumbira kuvaridzi venyika. Vanokumbira kuti ropa risadeuke zvakanyanya. Nekuti vamwe vangaseka kuti sei achitaura achidai. Pekutanga ndati hatirambi chinamato. Asi chinamato tiri kuchiita tiri mukati menyika yevaridzi. Tine vanhu vanogona kutitungamira. Ivo vamunoona vakagadzwa ushe. Ushe hwakagarwa kare hwemadzinza. Vanokwanisa kukutungamirirai musatarise kuti ndewezera ripi.
Order. Your time is almost up. Wind up, please. 5 minutes left.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ndinoda kuti nditaure ndichiti, Mr. President, ngatidzokerei kumadzishe tibise mhepo yapinda mukati menyika yeZimbabwe yerufu tigokumbirazve kumadzishe aya kuti mvura inaye zvakanaka. Ndinotenda.
Ndinotenda Honorable Senator Unganai. Tsvimbo iyi itsvimbo yedu yegoridhe redu remuno muZimbabwe. And Senator Unganai mazvipindura mega futi muchitaura kuti hatingadzoki kunopfeka nhembe. Takabva kunembe kau. Even house ino yaida isiri kuti takagara pasi pemuhacha. Madzimai asina kupfeka kumusoro. Takapfeka nhembe. Handiti muri kuzviona. Pachirungu zvinonzi culture is dynamic. This mace you are seeing here is made of Zimbabwe gold. We are following the Commonwealth tradition, which is followed not only by us, but by and large all Commonwealth countries. So, whilst you are making a point about us observing our culture, I think we must, realize that culture is dynamic. It moves, and we have got to adapt to moving times. And things are going to change even more in the advent of artificial intelligence. Is there any further debate? Honorable Senator Chief Siansali is not here. Chief Mutasa?
Adjourn.
Who seconds?
I second, Mr. President.
It has been moved that debate do now adjourn. Is there any debate? I put the question that debate do now adjourn. Those who are of that opinion will say aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is accordingly affirmed and debate is adjourned. To what day, Chief Mutasa?
Next Tuesday, Mr. President.
The debate is at 6th. The clerk will read the 6th order of the day.
Agenda debate on motion on the report of the Joint Committee on Local Government, Public Works and National Housing and the Thematic Committee on SDGs.
When this debate was adjourned on the 15th of July 2025, the question before the House was a motion by Honorable Senator Chief Siansali that the House considers and adopts the report of the Joint Portfolio Committee on Local Government, Public Works and National Housing, and the Thematic Committee on Sustainable Development Goals on the state of water supply in Ulawa OSC 10 of 2025. Is there any further debate? Honorable Senator Pulu.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am a member of this committee.
Is your mic on?
Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to contribute to this important debate. I am a member of this committee, and so I stand by the contents of the report. Indeed, I do stand by the recommendations in the report and support them, and would urge members of this august House to adopt this report. I'm also glad that as I debate this important motion, we are honored to have the presence of the Minister of Finance, Professor Tuli Ngube, Mr. President. Mr. President, on this report by the Joint Committee, first of all, I think it highlights that it has been over 2 decades since the situation that affects this country's second city, Bulawayo, has been bubbling. This is to do with the right to access safe, clean and potable water. And Mr. President, I think that it is about time that we accelerate all efforts to deal with this matter once and for all.
Mr. President, I have observed that where there is a political will, and I think under the Second Republic, we have seen the efforts that have been made, and I think I'm making this point again, and I've heard many other members make that effort. If you look at the infrastructural thrust that has been undertaken, I think this is the opportunity to tackle the problem in Bulawayo once and for all. And if we go through the report, I think we get some pointers that it is known exactly what steps should be taken in order for us to dig ourselves out of this situation. The report highlights that the demand for water, the water supply deficit in Bulawayo is that the daily demand, that the daily water that Bulawayo needs is 165 megaliters against a current supply of 120, which is very concerning. They have identified that a number of dams, like the Umziwani Dam, have been decommissioned, and Upper Nlema and Lower Nlema are said to be decommissioned. Bulawayo solely depends on Umchabezi Dam at the present moment, which again is not meeting the demand. The report goes through all these statistics but concludes that the solution, and this is something that we all know, to Bulawayo's water wars is dependent on the completion of the National Zambezi Water Project. The amounts that are required for the Zambezi Water Project, Mr. President, are quite a lot. They're quite significant. But the percentage of completion is encouraging. And what I've observed from the figures that are presented is that should we put in place a final push, let me call it a final push, Mr. President, we would urge the government, particularly the Minister of Finance, perhaps in the next budget, to make this project a priority, or one of the highest priorities, a priority of the highest order. Because we can see how much it will touch lives of people not only in Bulawayo, but people also along the way. The minister has made it possible so far that the pipelines are actually in the process of being done. And companies have been contracted to finalize these pipelines. But somewhere along the line, we need to increase the finances to ensure that the amounts are paid out so that these contractors can begin to move with speed. We would love a position where the Honorable Minister could from time to time give us timelines within which he thinks that each of the different phases can be completed. Particularly the dam wall. The dam wall needs about 84 million. And it is interesting to note that we have the glass block project, which has been highlighted by the debate. Term measure to supply water to the people of Bulawayo in the meantime. If you look at the cost of that project, the amount involved in complete the dam wall, but of course completing the dam wall on its own would have phases, particularly the phase that has to do with the plant that will clean the water. So we do applaud this glass block project, and one must note that it is an initiative which is being funded. It's a partnership between private players and public players, which is something I have heard the minister encouraged. And one would want to ask whether, or rather to invite even the minister to support the city of Bulawayo and to support the government in a quest to find more partners perhaps to assist with the main project itself, which is the Zambezi water project. Mr. President, I think all I can do is issue a rallying call to simply ask the Honorable Minister to set this project aside as a special priority. I know that is a priority, but I don't know to what extent it could be set aside as a special priority akin to Trabablas, Mr. President, akin to the project we saw regarding the road to Parliament, given that Bulawayo is a key cog of the economy, it's a key cultural center, is a key historical center. It is our second city. Our capital city, I must say, is looking beautiful. We would want Bulawayo to look the same. We would want the people in Bulawayo to have access to water. We would want Bulawayo, I know there's a thrust to reindustrialize. And in order to reindustrialize, Mr. President, the water situation, the water scenario is very important. I would love, particularly the Honorable Minister of Finance, because I think that ministry holds the key to the finalization of these projects. I know that there's a ministry that deals with the water part, but certainly I think the report identified funding as a key driver that can see this project through. It is also interesting to note, Mr. President, that the whole Zambezi water project, the bulk of it is going to be located in Matabeleland North. And Matabeleland North is set to benefit. I'm sure part of the pipeline passes through this homestead. I don't know, he can tell us more about that. But I'd like to urge members of the Senate to support the report and thank those who have contributed their voice in this important debate. We hope that the Joint Committee is not done. I observe that we need another excursion to go back and focus more, zero in on the medium project, which is the glass block dam, because it also has a number of questions that it raises, which we need to understand better. I thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Honorable Senator Pulu. Is there any further debate? This is now Chief Sansali's report. The other one was Chief Nechombo is not here. Okay. Chief Nema, would you like to move for the adjournment?
Thank you, President. I move that the debate do now adjourn.
2 seconds.
I second, Mr. President.
It has been moved that debate do now adjourn. Is there any debate? I put the question that debate do now adjourn. Those who are of that opinion will say aye. Aye. Those of the contrary opinion will say no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. The question is accordingly affirmed and debate is adjourned. To what day, Senator Chief Nema?
Tuesday next week.
Debate is adjourned to Tuesday next week. The clerk will read the 7th order of the day.
Adjourn debate on motion on the ever-increasing loss of our cultural value and norms.
When this debate was adjourned on the 15th of July 2025, the question before the House was a motion by Honorable Senator Gotora, as set forth on page 678 of today's order paper. Is there any further debate? Honorable Senator Mlochwa.
Thank you.
And then Senator Swanda. You have changed your seat. Okay, Senator Mlochwa.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the recognition. And I would like to thank the Honorable Senator Kotora for bringing this motion to this House. Of late, we realize we are debating more and more about our culture. Mr. President, I think we as a nation, as this House, realize the importance of culture. Mr. President, I stand today in strong support of the motion that celebrates May 2025 as a National Culture Month, an initiative led by the government of Zimbabwe and to be officially commemorated in Chirezi Masvingo province. This initiative, which includes the revival of traditional practices, the promotion of the national dress, and the observance of 25th of May as traditional day, must be applauded. It is a bold, commendable step towards reclaiming the soul of our nation. A soul forged, Mr. President, not by political borders, but by generations of oral histories, ancestral rituals, sacred sites, indigenous languages, music, food, art, and a collective wisdom. But, Mr. President, as I support this motion, I rise also with a deeper reflection and responsibility that this cultural revival must be fully inclusive, representative, and empowering for all Zimbabweans. Culture is more than just a tradition, Mr. President. It is an identity. Mr. President, when we talk about our culture, we are not simply talking about dance or songs performed on national holidays. We are talking about our identity, who we are, how we see ourselves, how we connect with others, and how we contribute to the world. Culture is the soul of the nation. Without it, development becomes rootless and mechanical. Culture gives a meaning to our aspirations, Mr. President. It tells our children where they come from and shapes how they engage with their future. But I must emphasize, national identity is not homogeneous. We are not one people with one culture. We are one nation made strong by different cultures. Mr. President, Zimbabwe is a tapestry of cultures, and all must be honored. In every corner of Zimbabwe, culture lives and breathes in diverse forms. In Binga, the Tonga people preserve oral stories and songs sung on the shores of the mighty Zambezi. In Beitbridge, the Venda community maintains unique drum rituals and dances, and in Plumtree, the Kalanga preserves sacred ancestral ceremonies. From Xhosa in Bembesi to the Nambia in Wange, the Sotho in Gwanda, the Chewa in Mount Darwin, each of these communities has a distinctive traditions, language, and spiritual practices. Yet, Mr. President, too often when Zimbabwe celebrates culture, we reduce it to only two dominant narratives, the Shona and the Ndebele. We ignore or marginalize the others. So as we pass this important motion, we must challenge ourselves to ensure that cultural revival means every culture is seen, respected, supported, regardless of size or geography. Mr. President, cultural marginalization is a silent injustice. Honorable members, Mr. President, let us be honest. Cultural marginalization exists in our country. In many rural communities where minority group lives, children are educated in languages not their own. Their stories are not in textbook. Their traditional leaders are not consulted in policy matters. Their dances are not featured on national television. Their musicians don't receive airplay. This leads to a cultural erasure over time, the slow disappearance of language, rituals, and collective memories. This is not just a loss for these communities, it is a loss for the nation. Because when culture dies, a worldview dies. A knowledge system dies, a part of Zimbabwe dies. We cannot allow this to continue under our watch, not in 2025, not as we pass a motion to celebrate our culture. What inclusion should look like, Mr. President? So, Mr. President, what does inclusion look like? Inclusion means that during National Culture Month, we do not only host events in the urban centers or provincial capitals, but also in remote cultural districts like Cholocho, Binga, Sanyati, and Chipinge. It means that our celebration of the traditional dress, we highlight all forms of traditional attire, not just the Shona Zambia or the Ndebele is Kotani, but also Venda beadwork, Kalanga headdresses, Tonga reed accessories, and Sotho blankets. It means, Mr. President, we promote local languages on state radio and television, especially during May, that we support the development of learning materials in all constitutionally recognized indigenous language. And yes, it means we promote Goda, Nanga, Ikriba. We also invest in community-led cultural schools where local leaders can pass on knowledge to youth in their own languages and traditions. Inclusion is not charity, Mr. President. It is justice and it is patriotism. Because a nation that values all its people is a nation destined to prosper. Mr. President, I commend His Excellency President Dr. Idim Nangagwa for calling on Zimbabweans to wear traditional fabric once a week. This is a powerful gesture of unity, pride, and cultural consciousness. But, Mr. President, let us be mindful. Traditional attire is not a one-size-fits-all. What is traditional in one region may not be in another. Therefore, we urge that as this recommendation is implemented, it is done with full regional and cultural sensitivity. Let every Zimbabwean wear the fabric of their ancestors, speak the tongue of their lineage, and be proud of their origin, whether they come from Zaka or Zambezi. Mr. President, I urge all honorable senators to take this cultural mission seriously. Culture is not the work of Ministry of Culture alone. It must be integrated across ministries. The Ministry of Education must prioritize indigenous languages and traditional knowledge in the curriculum. The Minister of ICT must create platforms that digitize and archive oral traditions and languages, especially those at the risk of extinction. The Minister of Tourism must promote heritage tourism that reflects on all Zimbabwean cultures. The Minister of Youth must support young artists from all communities to showcase their heritage proudly. Above all, Mr. President, all communities themselves must be empowered. Chiefs, headsmen, elders, and artists must lead the charge in preserving and transmitting culture. Let us support them not just in word, but with budgets, infrastructure, and platforms. Mr. President, let us not pass this motion as a mere formality. Let it be a turning point, a pledge that will build a future where every Zimbabwean culture is valued. Let us envision a Zimbabwe where the Tonga language is taught in Binga schools proudly. The Kalanga drum is played in national ceremonies. The Venda story is archived in national libraries. The Nambian dancing is preserved on international stages. In conclusion, Mr. President, I support this motion because it signals a return to our roots, but I also call for its broadening so that our celebration is not limited and our pride not partial. Let us embrace unity through diversity, not as a slogan, but as a national value. Let us uplift all our people and all our cultures, and let us build a Zimbabwe where the cultural flame burns not in one corner, but across every village, valley, and voice. I thank you, Mr. President.
Of course, a heated debate right there in the Senate chamber. Of course, right now I am joined by the Senator, Dr. Mike Bima. Very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you.
Yeah, we've noticed that there's adjournment of the Senate question and answer session. Could you please probably explain this to the viewers? What does this mean and why at times it has to come to this point?
Well, normally on Thursdays in the Senate, we have questions without notice as the first item, followed by questions with notice as the second item. Unfortunately, we didn't have many ministers who were present except the Minister of Transport. And therefore, these items were stood over in favor of going to discuss motions.
So what of those, some of those motions that we discussed today?
There was motion on indigenous knowledge systems, a motion on the preservation of culture, and also a motion in order to have a culture day, a national culture day. Yeah.
And what's your take? We heard that there was a heated debate in terms of probably adoption of Western practices, favoring those instead of favoring our own traditional means. And of course, it was said that we need to embrace, technology. Yes, we can preserve our culture, but we must not be laid back. And because some of these things, they actually help with the development of our nation. What's your take on some of these issues?
I think there is a need to strike a balance. On one hand, culture is dynamic. We need to move with time. You have artificial intelligence and so many other developments. We need to move with that. But at the same time, there's a core preservation that we should also maintain.
And lastly, what is some of the feedback that is being given within your constituency when it comes to some of these bills that have been passed?
Yeah, I think there is a lot of support and there is a lot of interest. Do take quite a lot of interest on these motions. And I think what we should do is to continue to give them the feedback and also to get their contributions so that we put them on board when we come to Parliament.
All right. Any last words to our viewers before you go?
No, well, it's very cold in this winter. They should keep warm. But we should continue to debate and for people to contribute towards national development.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Thank you so much as well.
Senator Dr. Mike Bima, right there. And of course, as we wrap up the Senate question and answer session, like you heard it, you must keep warm this season. Of course, we shall continue bringing you these and more discussions to do with Senate and question answer sessions. My name is Rumbi Chakanza, and of course, from the entire crew behind the scenes, thank you so much for watching and have a pleasant viewing.
Good evening and welcome to the greatest show on earth.
This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come.
Let's go! Lights, camera, action. Put your mind to it, live the life that you remember.